Tesla sales in Europe have just been revealed. In fact, EV sales in Europe have just been revealed for January. And yes, Tesla did dominate the market, but one interesting thing happened, and it shows that Germany is probably the most important car market for Tesla in Europe, and that Germans, in fact, love Tesla vehicles more than, well, probably any other country in the continent. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you. My name's Sam Evans. I'm coming to you from Bangkok in Thailand. I had to think twice about that then. Thanks for tuning in. EV sales in January did actually go down a bit in Germany. However, in Europe, they were up versus last year. Now, the reason EV sales went down in Germany in January is because subsidies declined or decreased. Subsidies for plug-in hybrids were cancelled. Subsidies for EVs actually went down. But there are still some subsidies. They're just not as high as what they used to be. The Tesla Model Y was easily the best-selling car in Germany, and it was also easily the best-selling car in Europe when it comes to fully electric cars. It didn't completely dominate, even though it looks like it did, because if you combine sales of the Volkswagen ID3 and the ID4 together, well, those two together sold almost exactly the same number of vehicles as the Tesla Model Y in Europe. I do think, though, we're going to see bigger sales for Tesla in February versus January. But it's worth considering that the Gigafactory in Berlin, Tesla's Gigafactory, is now producing 4,000 vehicles per week. And that is huge. Now, the Tesla Model Y was a bright spot in the electric car market in January 2023, becoming the best-selling EV in Europe easily. It's done this many times before, so I'm sure this is not much of a surprise to you by now. The European market for electric vehicles showed a slight increase in January 2023, and most brands actually did have an increase in sales, just probably not as many as what you might expect. Now, I think the key reason why sales are not as high for EVs in January as what we might expect them to be is just because there's still not enough EVs being manufactured in Europe. It's still an area very, very ripe for disruption. Surprisingly, though, Tesla increased its sales in January by 1,000% in Europe, 1,018% in fact. It's a crazy number. Model Y, 7,147 sales, was the best-selling car. Now, the Dacia Spring was the second best-selling car, and it's also the most affordable EV in Europe that's being mass-manufactured right now. 4,242 sales. Now, Renault actually own the company called Dacia, but the CEO is unaware of the fact that the Dacia Spring is actually quite an affordable car. It only costs 20,000 euros. But Renault believe that there are no such thing as affordable EVs. So maybe someone should call the CEO and tell him that, yeah, Renault, actually, you've got a really good selling EV on your hands here, a car that people love. 4,212 sales, second best selling car. Third best, ID4 with 3,812 sales, and the fourth best was the ID3 with 3,348. So if we put those two together, the ID3 and the ID4, almost exactly the same number of Model Ys sold in January. Fiat 500, that's the 500e, 3,248. Quite surprising to me that 500e sells so well in Europe, considering it's actually pretty expensive. This year, I really think Tesla are going to take a bigger slice of the market, or at least sell a lot more cars in Europe than they did last year. The key reason being the ramping up of production at the Gigafactory in Berlin. I do think Volkswagen is still struggling to ramp production, but you never know. They may have a real big year this year. I mean, it's possible, just seems not that likely considering they've been having a lot of trouble still with the software of their cars, a lot of customers complaining. And they have actually increased the price of their EVs when Tesla at the same time has decreased the price of their electric cars. So the interesting thing here is, of those 7,147 sales in Europe, more than 4,000 of them were in Germany. In other words, Germany was responsible for more than 60% of all Tesla Model Y sales over the entire continent of Europe. And now that suggests to me that Tesla just didn't have enough EVs to go around, because surely Tesla could sell more than 3,000 Model Ys in a single month across the entire continent of Europe, excluding Germany. When we're looking at Norway, Denmark, Finland, the Netherlands, the UK, France, there's a lot of countries in Europe. So I think that we're going to see a much larger sales number for Tesla and probably for other EV manufacturers in the month of February. The interesting thing is here, though, that in the month of January, Tesla vehicle sales represented 2.4% of all cars sold in Germany. And that's an increase for Tesla of 912% versus January of 2022. Now, you might be thinking, this seems strange, this data doesn't really add up. And the reason for that is that in Germany, there's traditionally much higher delivery figures for Tesla towards the end of the quarter, and those figures dropped back down at the start of the quarter. So January is normally a pretty slow month for Tesla in most places worldwide. And here's an example. In October, Tesla sold 3,185 vehicles in Germany, but in December, that figure was 16,950. And it's the same thing for Tesla in Germany in the first quarter of 2022. So January last year, Tesla sold or delivered 419 vehicles for the entire month. Pretty small number. In February, that figure jumped to 5,844. And in March, it was 8,065. Now, considering Tesla has reduced the price of the Model Y and the Model 3 significantly in Germany, I think we're going to see close to 15,000 vehicles delivered I know it sounds crazy, 15,000 vehicles delivered in the month of February. That's a big number, especially considering February has 3 less days versus most of the other months of the year. But I think that the decrease in the price of Tesla vehicles more than outweighs the fact that the subsidies have declined. Plus, now you can actually get a Tesla Model Y for a cheaper price than the equivalent ID4. In fact, significantly cheaper than the equivalently spec'd ID4. In fact, the equivalently spec'd ID4 is now around 7,000 euros more expensive than a Tesla Model Y. I think Volkswagen may have to reduce the prices of its vehicles. Probably, my prediction is that they will do so within the next few months as their demand for their EVs starts to go down. I mean, they did just increase their prices last year, and now they're actually looking to be a little bit expensive versus some of the competition. That's my opinion though, especially in light of Volkswagen's issues with their software and the fact that customers are now still pretty unhappy about that. They will have to change and do something about those issues, but they do have a new Volkswagen ID3, which is coming out, I believe, tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe that will be the solve to all their problems. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.